Morning everybody, welcome to our 9 a.m. flow this morning. So we're going to do our hips, plenty of hips today, request from myself. So it's one that a lot of people that I talk to always request, always ask for. Hips, hamstrings, anything to do with this lower back area. It's all that space that we get tight, we get cramped, compressed in from being seated, if we've got a sedentary lifestyle. Even if we're doing lots of exercise or we're training an hour or two a day, I can't remember what they call it, actively sedentary or something like that, where we're training and doing our exercise, but it's in one set block followed by a much larger part of the day where we're seated rather than being active all throughout the day. So even if we're active and getting into even our yoga practice and things, if we are sitting down for a majority of the day, it's nice to get this little hip focus and stretch out these tight muscles and decompress around the lower back and through the hips. So when we're ready, we'll make our way into our Shavasana, my favorite way to start a class, laying down on our backs, letting everything go through the physical body. So checking in, first of all, where we are most likely to store this tension. If we're feeling tight through that lower back, just feel the hips deepen a little heavier into the floor. As we maybe take a little movement, any little modifications here, getting ourselves as comfortable as possible. And we take this scan from head to toe, relaxing the muscles of the face, around the eyebrows, the jaw, soften through the tongue. Any tension through the neck, feeling that dissolve away. As the shoulders and the arms melt a little deeper to the floor. Softening the muscles around the ribs and the torso. Making that breath come and go a little easier. A little less resistance, that gentle flow of inhales and exhales. As we move that awareness down to the hips, consciously loosening, lengthening, dissolving tension. Feeling a little heavier through the legs, all the way down to the tips of the toes. Feeling the fingers and toes relax away from each other. Allowing ourselves to be at this complete rest at the beginning of our practice. The more at ease we are in the physical body, the more at ease we can be in the mind. If we've got that active mind, if we're just noticing the comings and goings of thoughts, we're not here to control, we're not here to stamp anything out. We're just taking a step back from being so involved all the time in what we're thinking. We're just allowing whatever comes to come, whatever stays, letting it stay, and whatever goes, letting it go. So we don't get peace from controlling our thoughts, we get peace from giving up, letting go of that control. Start to feel into the breath, the rise of the chest with each inhale, and the fall of the chest with each exhale. This rhythmic breath, this diaphragmatic breath, we're drawing it deep down into the belly, expanding up through the chest. Softening down from the chest, down and out the belly. We add a wriggle through fingers and toes. I'm going to bring these knees gently towards the chest, squeezing in nice and tight as we add our little rock left and right here. So straight into these hips, this lower back as we draw these knees in, feeling that lower back lengthen as we take this left and right. We're just gently loosening out the muscles here. Check in that lower back around the hips, the glutes. This upper body is relaxed. And taking the hands to the knees, keeping the legs together, we'll start to take some circles. Whatever direction feels good to start. Whatever size circle feels good for our hips this morning. So as we move through, noticing any tension, any resistance in any areas, that tightness or soreness. Gently introduce a little bit more mobility, a little bit more warmth into these muscles, and then changing directions. As we return our way back through center, taking our butterfly circles now, draw them into chest, the knees into chest, releasing them out wide, down towards the back of the mat, and back towards each other over the hips. Noticing the size of the circles again, if we'd like to grow them out a little bit. And at which point through our circles do we feel that stretch, that sensation the most? And changing directions. And let's return back into our ball. We'll bring our knees to 90 degrees, pointing our fingertips up towards the ceiling. So coming into our reverse tabletop position, and we're going to work the core. So we're drawing that belly button in towards the floor, gently imprinting the lower back into the floor. As we inhale, right arm, left leg comes nice and long. Keeping that core working as we exhale, drawing them back to center. So it's inhale, left arm, right leg. Exhale, back through middle. Keeping this flow with our breath. So supporting the hips is not just about stretching, say, the hip flexors or the hamstrings. It's also about developing a strength through the core. So if our core muscles, abdominals are weak and our hip flexors are tight, it can cause that compression in the lower back, that tightness. So as well as stretching out our hip flexors, if we're strengthening this core, it keeps the hips nice and stable. And returning our way back to our reverse tabletop, we'll lower these feet to the mat, taking them out nice and wide. We'll come into our windscreen wipers, just left and right, getting this stretch down the sides of the hips. We're relaxing through the abdominals now, relaxing that core. We're just taking this gentle side to side, our upper body eased into the mat. And then pointing both knees over to the left-hand side. So taking this stretch down the right side of the lower back, across that right side of the hip. Option to place that left foot on top of the right leg if we'd like that extra little weight. We're not trying to push it down, we've just got the weight of that left leg. Gravity's doing our work here. Noticing the quality, the depth of the breath. And releasing This side, taking those knees over to the right. Option from here, placing that right foot on the left leg. And coming back to center, let's take our happy baby, opening those soles of the feet to the ceiling, relaxing the head, the neck, the shoulders, releasing those knees towards the floor. If we'd like to add our little rock here, we can. And then returning to middle, tucking into our ball, taking this rock and roll to seated. And coming to sit nice and tall, lengthening up through the crown. We'll inhale this left arm up and over, taking our neck stretches, feeling it down this right side of the neck. This right shoulder, right arm relaxing. If we'd like to extend it out, we can. It may allow us to deepen a little further into the stretch, but we're not trying to put any pressure on the neck or head here, so we're quite gentle as we draw that head across. And let's release this side. Inhale, right arm up and over. So again, that left arm, so we're softening down through that left shoulder. If we'd like to extend it out, deepen through the stretch, we can. Use an inhale to sit a little taller, opening up through the chest. Exhale, softening any active muscles in the back of the body. Releasing this side. Let's inhale this left arm up again. Turning our gaze, we're looking past the armpit, drawing our chin towards the collarbone. Moving this stretch down through the back of the neck now. So if we're working at computers, sitting at desks, even watching TV, you get that chin poke position. This allows us to lengthen back through the back of the neck, de-stress. And releasing the side. Inhale, right arm up and over, so we're turning that gaze, tucking the chin. Even maybe if we've just slept funny, if we wake up in the mornings with that tight neck. A really good one to start the day. Releasing this side. Let's inhale, both hands rise. As we exhale, bringing our left hand to the right knee, our right hand comes behind the body. We use our inhale to lift, our exhale to twist. Take another breath in. Exhale, releasing through middle. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, opposite side. Take that in-breath to lift tall through the crown of the head. On that exhale, opening a little further through the chest, drawing that gaze over that back shoulder, or wherever that gaze lands, whatever's comfy for the neck here. We're not trying to force the twist. We're trying to lift through the upper body, so we're creating space between the vertebrae, easing into our rotation. Last deep, big belly inhale. Exhale through center. Let's walk our hands forwards, coming into our tabletop position. So we're on hands and knees, spreading our fingers wide. Press the palms in, get rid of any air pockets in there. On our in-breath, let's drop the tummy towards the mat, opening through the chest. As we exhale, round the spine, pressing through the arms. Tucking that tailbone under. Inhale, opening through the front of the body. As we exhale, tucking that chin to chest, core engaged, rounding through the spine, lengthening through the back of the body. So inhale, open. Exhale, tuck it under. Really exaggerate these movements. Notice where this restriction is between the vertebrae, where it is along the spine that we feel that tightness, that tension. If we've got that hunch, so we're focusing on the hips this morning, but it's that whole hip bone connected to every other bone in the body. So when we're sitting in a seat, we've got those tight hip flexors, we've got that compression on the lower back. A lot of the time, if we're at a computer, then we start to hunch over. Hunching over, we start to bring that chin forwards, tightening through the back of the neck as well. So it's all connected. It's nice to do a big unravel of everything. We're going to come back to our tabletop position. Taking an inhale, our right arm towards the ceiling. As we exhale, we'll thread it through underneath the body, reaching from those fingertips, lowering down, taking our shoulder stretch. We can keep this left hand or forearm to the mat, or if we'd like to, we can take a little twist, that right hand resting in the crease of our right side of our hip. So talking about that connection of, when we're sitting down, it's not just the hips, it's the upper back, it's the neck. And likewise with our yoga, our practice, our stretching, we're never just isolating one area. The benefits of working on one particular area is it has that domino effect. Let's return this left hand, back to the mat, pressing our way back up to our tabletop. Inhale, left fingertips towards the ceiling. Open that heart as we exhale, reaching across. So again, our support options, palm or forearm to floor. We can bring that around for the twist, getting that opening through the front of our left shoulder. And returning that right hand to the mat, pressing our way up to all fours. Let's tuck these toes under, coming into our downward facing dog. So lifting through those sit bones, lengthening down the backs of the legs. So mat's a bit slippery this morning. So we can pedal out here, alternating, bending one knee, then the other if that feels good. Getting that lengthening through the calves, the hamstrings. Remembering here we can bend these knees as much as we like. So if I find it difficult, if we start to straighten the legs, and the upper back starts to hunch, if we don't have that flexibility there, bend through the knees, lift through the sit bones. And then we can introduce a little bit more length, maybe straightening those legs slightly more, or just alternating, bending one knee then the other. Let's walk these feet in to the front of our mats, nice and slowly again, creating that length by pressing the heels down into the mat until we come to the top of our mat, taking our forward fold here. So bend those knees as much as we like, hand to the opposite elbows. Bend those knees, allowing the tummy to rest on the thighs, adding a little sway side to side, feeling into those hamstrings. Returning back through center, releasing those fingertips to the floor. Let's inhale a half lift. So lengthening up the backs of the legs, straightening through the back as we exhale, folding forwards. Again, inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. One last one. Inhale, lengthen through the crown, draw those shoulders back. Exhale, folding forwards, coming into our gorilla pose. We're going to slide the palms of the hands underneath the soles of the feet. So take that bend in the knees as much as we'd like here. This is happy hips. We're not trying to force them into stretching out. We want to find that Goldilocks spot where we're comfortable in our discomfort. It's the secret to self-care, is finding that middle ground. That top of the bell curve, the sweet spot between doing nothing and doing too much. Everything is medicine and poison depending on the quantity. And let's release those palms from underneath the feet. Inhale, nice and long. Exhale, fold. Reversing our dive now, so we're inhaling all the way tall. Let's lengthen up through the fingertips. Take a little side bend. On our exhale, we'll lean to the left, planting that right foot into the floor. A little side body stretch as we inhale back through center. Exhale, opposite side. One more time on each side. So inhale through middle. Exhale, long. Feel that stretch all the way down the right side of the body. Inhale. Exhale. As we inhale, coming back up nice and tall. On our exhale, we'll take our heart opening, our back bend, engaging through glutes and core as we inhale, coming tall. Exhale, fold it forwards, heart open. As we inhale, we'll take a half lift. As we exhale, we'll take hands to mat, stepping back to our high plank. So nice and solid here, or stable is the word I'm looking for. Nice and stable. So we want to be on the toes or the knees here. Our focus is keeping this lower back nice and long. Engage those tummy muscles, so firming through the tummy by drawing that belly button up towards the spine. Take a breath in here at the top. As we exhale, lowering down again, hands on our toes or knees, keeping those elbows in nice and tight. As we inhale, coming into our back bend, our cobra or our upward facing dog. As we exhale, tucking those toes under, lifting up through the sit bones. Okay, let's gaze forwards, bending those knees, stepping or hopping our feet to front, inhaling our half lift. Exhale, fold. Coming into these hammies a little more, we'll take our twist, bending that right knee slightly further, inhaling left fingertips up towards the ceiling. As we exhale, releasing that hand to either the floor or the shins, whatever's more available, that we're not hunching over. If we're hunching to get those feet to the floor, hands to the floor, ease out a little bit, rest the hands on the shins or the thighs. So we're continuing this flow, we're bending that left knee as we reach the right fingertips to the sky. Exhale, fold. So move with our own breath here. So our happy hips is not just for desk workers, it's for runners, cyclists, anywhere. Not that we're sedentary in these muscle groups, but also if we're using them a lot. So if we're doing sports, If we're running, propelling ourselves, glutes, hammies firing, calves as well. This is another great sequence. All that sort of exercise. If we're doing squats, if we're doing bar classes, spin classes. And then returning into our forward fold position. Inhale, half lift. Hands to mat, high plank, stepping or hopping back. Taking one breath in here. Exhale, chaturanga. Strong through this upper body as we inhale, taking our cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's inhale this left heel to sky. Stepping through for our warrior two. So placing that left foot between the hands. We're grounding through this right foot as we make our way tall, extending out through the arms. So in our lunge position, making sure that left knee is tracking over that front heel. We're grounding through the outer edge of our foot, so we're not dumping into the arch of the foot. We're grounding that outer edge, getting that opening through that inner right thigh. Flipping the palm, we'll inhale, reverse our warrior. As we exhale, coming back into our warrior two. Lengthening through this left leg, drawing back through the hips, reaching through the fingertips, coming into our triangle pose, our Trikonasana. That left hand can come to rest on the shin, or fingertips on the inside of that left foot. If we'd like to draw our stance a little bit closer, if that's more comfortable for the legs, we can, but we're getting this stretch through that inner left thigh. Getting a little bit of opening through these adductors now, the inner hips. Take a breath in here. Use that exhale to lower that top hand to the mat. We're coming to the ball of our back foot. We're going to step this right foot to the left-hand side of our left foot. So pushing off. So it's a wrap of the legs. We're going to inhale a half lift. And then exhale, fold. So in this wrap, we should feel this stretching a little bit more down the back of that right leg now. Allowing that upper body to relax over the hips. So we can let that head relax. So for me, I've mentioned before, I've just got to be careful of my blood pressure. So always, what's the word I'm looking for? Practicing our modifications. So all of the postures, the poses today, it's more of a gentle class through these hips. But if we've got hip injuries, if we've got knee injuries, if we've just got that tension, we're always just working to our own edge and also taking these modifications where we need them. Yoga is not about force, it's about effortless action. Let's slowly uncurl our way to standing. We'll release this right foot on the right side of our mat. We'll inhale, hands rise, taking our back bend on our exhale. Inhale, lifting tall. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift. Hands to mat, high plank, stepping or hopping, soft with these feet. Take our breath in, core is engaged, exhale to lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. As we inhale, taking our right heel to sky. Stepping it through warrior two. Getting ourselves centered in our mat, grounding through that back foot 90 degrees. Extending these arms out. So we want that edge of that back edge of our foot, that outside edge of our foot, parallel with the back of our mat. Keeping our torso tall, might like to lower into our lunge a little further. Again, tracking that front knee over the heel. Should be able to see that big toe on the inside of that front knee. And then bringing our gaze up over that front middle finger. If we're feeling tense through these shoulders, add a little shrug and softening them down a little further. Grounding through that outer edge of our left foot, so keep a pocket of air underneath the arch of the foot. Flip the front palm, inhale, reverse. Stretching up this right side of the body as we exhale, turning those arms to warrior two. Lengthening through this front leg, reaching through the fingertips, coming down into our triangle pose. Whoop. Getting off balance there. So, lengthening these left fingertips, reaching and pointing them up towards the ceiling. That right hand resting to shin. All fingers on the inside of that right foot. Take our breath in. Exhale to lower that top arm. Coming up to the ball of our back foot, pushing off, stepping that left foot to the right side of our right foot. Taking our leg wrap. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. So feeling that down that back of our left leg this time. Checking in if we're feeling tense in anywhere that we don't need to be. Around the shoulders, the neck, the arms, the facial muscles, the jaw. Use an exhale to just ease that tension out. We'll slowly draw our way back up to standing, this time bringing that left foot to the left side of our right foot. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, opening through our back bend. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Half lift, lengthen through the crown of that head, nice and long through the spine. Hands to mat, high plank, step or hop back. Take our breath. Exhale, keep that core working all the way down as we inhale, open. Exhale, downward facing dog. Little pedal out here. On our inhale, we'll take this left heel to sky. Stepping it through for our low lunge, we're going to release this right knee down to the mat. So coming into our low lunge here, got a few options. We can frame that front foot. We can rest the hands to the thigh. If we'd like to take more of a back bend, interlacing the fingers behind the hips, opening through the heart. Or if we'd like to get into this right hip flexor a little deeper, we can take that right hand to mat, reaching that left hand behind with that thumb pointing towards the ceiling, taking hold of that back foot and drawing the heel in towards the hip. So if we can't quite reach that foot, if we want to target that hip flexor a little more, can't quite reach, if we've got a hand towel, t-shirt, wrap it round and draw in that way. We still get the stretch. So all of our options, our focus is letting go through the hips. So anything that's we're keeping hold of, seeing if we can ease that out now. release this back foot if we've taken hold. Scooting this left foot into center, lengthening out this left leg nice and long. So coming into a hamstring fold. Now, if we're happy here, so we can either have our knee bent or we can lengthen that leg nice and long, straight, sorry. If we're happy here, if we're getting that stretch through the hamstring, it feels good for us, we can hold here. If we'd like to come into our splits, our Hanumanasana, our monkey pose, we can take that left foot further forwards or drawing that right knee further behind. We're just coming into our own version of the splits. So yoga splits is very different to our gymnastic splits. We're not trying to push our hips down towards the floor. We're not getting sat on by a coach. It's just creating this space between the legs. So talking about that bell curve, that sweet spot where we're comfortable in discomfort. So we're feeling the stretch, the sensation of the stretch. And we know if we've taken it too far because we'll have difficulty breathing or we'll be starting to tense the breath. If we really push into it, you start to hear that in my voice of your breath becomes tense as well. So we should be at ease in our discomfort here. Remembering we can come in and out of these postures at any time if something feels good to start. If anything changes along the way, we're not there just to be there. We're here for self-care. So if it no longer serves us, ease our way out. Take rest, or it might just be that we need to ease it a little bit. And when we're ready, as gently as we made our way in, we'll make our way out. So closing this space between. So if we've taken that hamstring stretch, same for both. We're bringing these feet, big toes to touch, hips down to heels, ease out. So after the splits or opening up the side of the hip, we just want to soften down now. Feel that tension, that sensation that lingers, just feeling that dissolve away. Channel that awareness back into the breath, feeling those inhales expand against the inner thighs. As we exhale, feeling the back of the body relax a little closer to the mat. On our in-breath, coming back to our tabletop, and then downward dog. If we'd like to move a little more, we can take our vinyasa. If you'd like to take your flow to get here, you're welcome to come up into high plank first, move through that vinyasa, then make our way to down dog. If we're in our down dog, or once we get there, we'll inhale that right heel to sky, stepping it through for our low lunge. So bringing that left knee to the mat this time. Our options here again, so to frame the foot, to rest those hands to thigh. We're not dumping our weight into that leg, we're just resting the hands there, bringing that lowering through the hips. If we'd like to interlace the fingers behind the hips and open through the heart a little further, we can. If we need that opening, if we're prone to that hunch, maybe getting that focus here, or that left palm to floor. Right hand behind, taking hold, and a gentle draw of the heel towards the hip. Notice where we're feeling that sensation. Notice any resistance that we have to it. See if we can just loosen, lengthen the muscle fibers in that area. A little bit further at ease with our stretch. If we've taken hold of this back foot, we can release it down to the mat, framing this front foot, lengthening out this right leg. So our hamstring fold. Or if we'd like to, creating that extra space. Coming into our Hanumanasana. We don't want to be twisting into our splits here too. So whether we're taking our hamstring fold or our splits, we're still drawing that right side of the hip backwards. It keeps our hips square, creates that extra length along that the back of our right leg. When we're ready, gently make our way out, reducing that space, bringing that right foot back to our child's pose. So for this side as well, relaxing the hips. Taking those deep breaths. When we're ready, making our way to our downward dog. If we'd like to flow to get there, we can. Once we've made our way back, we'll inhale that left heel to sky. Coming into our pigeon pose, that left foot to right wrist, right leg long. Gentle on our way down, just relax this upper body towards the floor. We're doing as little as possible here. We're in this position where gravity, we're using those forces around us, we're positioning ourselves so that we can be at rest. Gravity draws us into the stretch. And we can just relax here. If we've got that active mind, if we've drifted off to thoughts of what we've got to do later in the day or stories in the head, just letting that fall through to the floor. We can bring our awareness back into the body. Noticing how that stretch, that sensation changes with each breath. And cultivate, if we've got that chattering mind, we can cultivate a listening mind. And just noticing what's going on. And we're going to walk these hands back underneath the chest, We're going to move into our other side. So again, if we're liking that flow, we can take our flow. Otherwise, we can come straight back to our downward dog, swapping sides, that right heel to sky, and bringing it through our pigeon on our opposite side. Taking our time, we want to be comfortable here. If we like to deepen the stretch, we can bring that right foot towards that left elbow a little further. So soften through those hips, check in, are we holding on here? Are we tense? Ease that out. Use our exhales. The exhales, when that body gives us a little more, or relaxes a little bit further, you know, when we sigh, that release, it has that physical effect. Start to make our way back to our downward dog. So this will be our last one for the day. Maybe just taking a breath or two, drawing those heels towards the mat, lifting through those sit bones, drawing chest towards the thighs, and then releasing knees to mat. We can option. So at home, whatever direction is most comfortable. I like to turn to the side. So coming into our frog pose, just so that both of my knees can stay on the mat. But we're going to take those knees out, heels just outside the knees with the arches of the feet facing towards the floor. We can stay on our palms here, or we can bring ourselves down to forearms if we've got pillows, props, bolsters. Hopefully I'm still in the frame of the shot at the moment. But we're just getting this opening through the inner thighs. We can gently bring those hips, so very soft movement, those hips back towards the heels. It can be quite an intense stretch. This is, for me, the one that I love to hate. I find it very beneficial. My range of motion, tightness through the hips. This seems to be a big one for me. And I love the benefit of the stretch, but the posture can feel quite intense. So that's where it comes back to finding your edge, finding your sweet spot, that Goldilocks spot. We get maximum benefit, but still keeping within that self-care focus. We're not risking tearing muscles. We don't have a blood pressure of 180 trying to hold a stretch. And when we're ready, slowly making our way out, we can bring these knees back towards each other. We're going to sweep the feet to the front of our mat. So placing those feet to floor. Last little bit of core work. We'll reach the fingertips forward. So in our boat pose, we can bring our feet off the floor, or we can keep them grounded if we like. Draw that belly button in, hugging in, and slowly, nice and controlled, lowering ourselves down for the heels and the head to rest. We'll draw the heels in towards the hips, so coming into our Supta Baddha Konasana, our last one before our Shavasana. We can take the soles of the feet together, opening those knees to the sides, so like the pages of a book. We can rest our hands however is comfortable to thighs. We can take them tummy and chest to check in with that breath. We can rest them by side the body or take them overhead, hands to opposite elbows. This is my favorite to take before Shavasana because I feel it just eases us into that mindset. We're getting this passive stretch here. We don't have to actively do anything. This final opening through the hips. But we're in this laying position where we can really relax the mind. Coming back to the breath. Feel that rise and fall of the chest. And just notice the depth of our breath here. If we can maybe extend a little deeper through our inhales. Nice long exhales. And when we're ready, we'll bring the knees towards each other, extending the legs long, the arms out, taking our final rest here. Maybe a final little scan, head to toe, identifying and dissolving any tension that we find. And just enjoying these last few moments to ourselves. As we breathe in, we're aware that we're breathing in, and aware that we're breathing out. Bringing a wriggle into the fingers and the toes. And on our next in-breath, extending the arms up over the head, taking a big long reach, lengthening out through the entire body, that big yawn stretch like in the mornings. And rolling over to one side. So we make our way up to a seated position. Comfortable in our sit bones, extending up through the crown of the head, sitting tall, taking our hands to heart center. Noticing how these hips are feeling, how that lower back's feeling sitting now. And taking this moment to be grateful to ourselves for coming to our mats, whether it's regularly or irregularly. We're happy to be taking this time, making this time right now for this practice, and just setting the intention to take this mindset of self-care off of our mats and through the rest of our day. As we bow our heads to our hands, we honour ourselves and each other with Namaste.